on. Welcome to Show Up Dad podcast, where our mission is to improve the well-being of children by increasing the proportion of children growing up with an involved, responsible, and committed father. The Show Up Dad Foundation is a 501c3 organization that encourages dad to become more than just a paycheck. Today's guest is none other than Dr. Stephen Poulter. He is the author of The Shame Factor and many other life-changing books. He has practiced as a clinical psychologist specializing in family relationships for more than 30 years. Dr. Stephen Poulter uses decades of experience to bring understanding and insight to those struggling with trauma, healthy relationships, addiction, and self-destructive behaviors. Welcome to the show, Dr. Poulter.
Great to be with you, David and Jennie. Thank you so much. It's very kind. I appreciate the intro. It's very humbling. Unlike the rest of the dads out there, we're just moving forward and doing the best we can. That doesn't mean we're not doing a good job, but we keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot to be said for persistence.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot to be said. And I know today's topic is about narcissism and codependence.
Yes.
And it's interesting. When I was speaking to your wife, women are codependent. Everyone says, oh yeah, that's understandable. But I find men, that's kind of like emotional cancer. Not kind of, it is emotional cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Women are very upfront about it, you know, because the hard part with codependence, where does good nurturing stop and codependence starts? You know, it's that spectrum. Nurturing on the other end is codependence. When you have a newborn, absolutely we're codependent with them.
Yeah.
Mom's taking care of business, dad. But as we go through life and get older, codependence becomes, for children, raised with a narcissistic parent. Because that parenting style is about, you need to make me feel good. And kids become an extension of the parent. That works to about age 8, 9, and 10. Then the conflict starts, because now you got an individual coming who has their own thoughts, their own feelings. And that's where they talk about the terrible adolescence, terrible teens, many times is with the narcissistic parent, because the child has their own opinion or starting to develop their own opinion. And where codependence starts is the child learns, I know more about what makes my parent, my dad or mom feel good than I know about what makes me feel good. Because to get their love, I need them to be happy.
Wow.
And if they're happy, I'm okay. You guys know where this goes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're going downhill, face down, 100 miles an hour. The Grand Canyon. It doesn't end well, because the child, teenager gets in their 20s, they know how to take care of people, but they don't know how to take care of themselves. And another piece of this, boundaries. I use the analogy of a good relationship is like playing tennis. You're on your side, I'm on my side. I'm 100% responsible for my 50. In codependency, I'm responsible for 200%. My 100 and your 100. You know, I hit the ball over the net, and if you don't like the way it's hit, I'm going to run over and hit it for you.
Yeah.
And you see this women that feel exhausted, they feel like a doormat, or men, like you said earlier, Dave, feel like a paycheck.
Yeah.
They're there, and then the way as adults we feel love is our partner is happy. And if they're not happy and accepting, we're not lovable. And then the third piece comes in, shame.
Wow.
The shame says we're defective. And you guys, there's the perfect triangle. You've got narcissism, codependence, on the bottom, shame. Those three together, that's a tough cycle. It can be healed.
Yeah.
But it keeps a lot. You know, it's not that marriages don't work. Marriages can't work in that. That triangle is suffocating, because there's no room for you, Jennie, or David. There's no room for individuals. It's either I either make you happy, and if you're not happy, I'm bad.
Wow.
That is cancerous. That's Jonathan Gutman, the guru on relationships up in Washington. That's one of his major premises. If the environment between the two of you isn't safe, there's no intimacy. In codependence, the environment is you're happy. You're either happy with our new house, our car, our status, the money, and that's what it becomes. And I see this equally with women and men. It's not a gender issue, it's a people issue. It's a relationship issue.
How does it show up differently in men as opposed to with women? Because I think with women, it's kind of obvious because we tend to gravitate towards a more nurturing type of nature.
Right.
But how does it show up in men?
I think many times, what you said, absolutely. Women it is really hard because being you hear about the mom who isn't a good mother. What does that mean? Being involved with your children. And many times you see with the mom where the kids have to be an extension of her. It becomes really clear. But for men, many times, they'll placate their wife to their own detriment.
Yep.
Placating, whether it be with their career, what she wants, that the world revolves around mom. Not that that's not good, but it's out of balance. Because there's no room for a second opinion. There's no room for anybody else. It's with men in a codependent relationship, it's the other person is front and center. And everything revolves around them. Your needs, and you're just an extension of them. If they're unhappy, there's a tear that comes up in the partner that if they're not happy, they're in trouble. That impending doom terror is rampant. That's why I know someone's in a codependent relationship. I ask, you ever have feelings of terror? Yes. Impending doom? Yes. It's not because of the future or money. It's because that relationship. Like you're in trouble. Or you think you're in trouble. And that's kind of like the predominant energy in the relationship for men. And I really, it's universal, Jennie. I see it with both. How it manifests with men may have to do with work, getting childcare, doing what she wants, socially decorate. You see a lot. It's much more externalized. For men, a lot more materialism, if you will.
Oh, okay.
And I see that too, Dr. Stephen Poulter. When you were talking, I was looking back to my own childhood, and we had a 2-story home. Okay. Now, when my father would come down the stairs would creak, and we would hear that. And I would be lying to say if none of us, the 3 kids that were there, did not dread hearing those steps when he was coming down, because automatically we started going to assumption we did something wrong. We're going to get hit. This is not safe. And I'm not bashing on my old man. You know what I mean? I'm not.
No.
I've forgiven him and everything, but
David, that dynamic right there, bingo. And by the way, all addictions are narcissistic.
Wow.
Okay, let's just get that on the table.
Yeah. Can you go further in that?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I know. And here we go. It's Monday, and let's just throw the ball down the field here. let's get this in the end zone. Alcoholism among men is still the most underdiagnosed illness. Okay, now I'm on a roll here. The CDC, the Center for Disease Control, still considers alcoholism, social drinking, the least diagnosed addiction in this country. Not cigarette smoking, because cigarette smoking, as you know, in California, it's not legal in public places.
Yeah.
In the last 25, 30 years. But an alcoholic father is highly narcissistic, and the family is codependent around him.
Okay.
David, like you and your siblings, dad came downstairs. The 3 of you knew within 2 seconds what to do to stay safe. Bingo. And you knew what not to do in order to avoid trouble.
Yeah.
When I see kids that are perfectly well behaved, I'm always thinking, who's the narcissist in that family? Because kids, it's like a dog that doesn't bark. Either they remove their voice box or this dog's been beaten.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never thought.
It's no different with kids. It's no different with children.
Wow.
Okay. When I have kids come in and tell me, oh, my parents are terrible, they abuse me, I'm like, no, they don't. Kids who are abused will never tell you.
Oh my God.
I'm going out there, you guys. I'm out there with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's heavy. But in my practice, I've had kids come in going through a divorce, parents are, and one kid says, yeah, my dad's terrible and whatnot. But they're not afraid of him. They're just angry at him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kids who've been abused are terrified.
Man, that
I don't want
perfect sense.
Doesn't it?
Yes. And just to top off with that.
Yeah.
My father, okay, when he gets together with his siblings, right? All of them are always talking about how abusive their father was, right?
Right.
The one who never talks about it is my dad. That's saying a lot right there. If what you're saying is
Ooh.
kids who are abused will never
Yep.
talk about it, that man does not talk about his dad at all. I mean, his siblings will be sitting around there like in a sewing circle about how abusive he was and how angry and all this
Yeah.
stuff. My dad will not say one thing.
You guys,
Crazy.
that is crazy. You know what? That is airtight. I
Yeah.
have not found that to be not true. I know it's poor grammar.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I have men come in there. I think by age 35 going forward, it starts to bubble up.
Mhm.
They have
Mhm.
a child or their son, particularly boy, father and son, their son becomes 12. All of a sudden, the dad is like having panic attacks.
Mhm.
Comes in, I go, what happened? Well, come to find out, at age 13, there was a sexual impropriety in the neighborhood
Hmm.
with that boy at 13. Because his father was narcissistic, he blamed the son.
Mm.
Wow.
Now, this son is now 38 and has a teenage son
Mhm.
and is freaked out that's going to happen. I go, it's not going to happen because A, you're talking about it, B, you're aware of it. But see, you've got to process it because it goes in our body.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And narcissists, like your father, a lot of men medicate with alcohol. Okay, I'm not
Mhm.
anti-drink. I'm just talking about how
Yeah.
they,
Mhm.
anesthetize it. It is,
Mhm.
it's powerful
Mhm.
because the narcissistic parent does not have room for imperfection
Hmm.
in their children because their children have to be perfect so they feel good
Mhm.
because it's coming from an inadequacy.
Mhm.
It's coming
Yeah.
from inadequacy. And also there's a competition with fathers who are highly narcissistic with their sons. Like, you
Mm.
can't be better than me.
Mm.
Wow.
And we see it in sports, and I always smile when I see the dads um, encouraging their sons to go beyond me. That's our job, is to launch them, not
Yeah.
hold on to them.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I tell dads, your children are a leased vehicle.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
They are loaned to you. They don't belong to you.
Mm.
Yes.
They belong, the greater good, the divine.
Yeah.
And our job is to do our best we can to help launch these young men.
Mm.
Boys who are civilized don't abuse women.
Hmm.
Boys who are civilized do not abuse women.
Mm.
And
Wow.
that means dad who dealt with his trauma is helping his son be civilized.
Mm.
Hmm.
Now, daughters of a narcissistic father go one of two ways, where they either become absolutely codependent and they date guys that abuse them,
Mhm.
literally and figuratively. Because you
Mhm.
see a beautiful woman and she's with a guy who's just awful to her. And her self-esteem has always been gauged by how much her dad approved of her,
Mhm.
you know? And uh, I work with a woman in her 50s, and her father was terrible to her.
Wow.
Mhm.
And her ex-husband is just, I mean, it could be an A&E biography on abuse.
Mhm.
But finally, she escaped, and she
Mhm.
still feels guilty
Mhm.
because he's unhappy.
I find, because I feel that, and this is no disrespect to my father, he has
No.
very traumatic upbringing, but I do feel that my dad is closer in the narcissism spectrum because of the way that I was raised and the way that after
Hmm.
my parents got divorced, I was put in the place of emotional support for him, but there was no emotional support for me. And there was like a lot of
Right.
like, if I do anything for you, then you owe me type of
Ooh.
stuff. And I
Ooh.
feel that that really harmed my ability to create healthy boundaries, especially regarding men. And I see like there is a pattern of enmeshment that kind of takes place when, and correct me if I'm wrong, when a parent is narcissistic and a child is codependent, and then like you're saying, it's very difficult to discover your own identity and um who you actually are as a person. I feel like I'm almost in my 40s and I really don't even have a clue who I am. So how does somebody start the process to discover those things?
Jennie, first of all, brilliant. Enmeshment. Okay,
Mhm.
you beat me to point four. Because no, because enmeshment is what keeps us safe. Children between by age 5, Jennie, you knew how to navigate the landmines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, by age 5, you're the parentified child. And so your whole life focus is outward.
Mm-hmm.
It's outward. Then you become a mama and it needs to be outward again. But the problem is your childhood was neglected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fast forward now. We're late 30s, early 40s. And that in our 40s is when a lot of development things come out. Like they always have the half-life's 15 years. Things just come up to the surface
Mhm.
or 20 years. And because now your child, your daughter, your son's older, and enmeshment is code for that's how I feel loved. It's like we're a lump of mashed potatoes. There's no individuals. We're
Right.
a lump of mashed potatoes. And when you pull away from enmeshment, you're committing treason.
Mm-hmm.
You're hurting the family. I got a mother, her son literally has bolted out of the house as a senior in high school, went to live with his dad, and she calls me up and says, what did I do wrong? I did everything for him, and I feel like I'm going to kill myself. I go, no. And then she says, he needs another therapist because I'm not doing my job because he's not being codependent with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, that's not the issue. The issue is your son's trying to find himself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So rather than do it, he just like jumped out of a moving car, metaphorically.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So Jennie, let's talk about how do you individuate from a narcissistic parent at any age.
Mm-hmm.
And I find for adults, the older we get, the harder it gets. So I just want you to know, my mother died on my wife's birthday.
Oh, I'm so
I just
sorry.
want to check that box of how my mother felt about me abandoning her.
Wow.
On her deathbed, I asked her, I can't believe I said death. It was on her deathbed. I go, Mom, can you answer me 2 questions? Are you mad that I got married and moved out? Honestly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you mad that I have a life of my own? Honestly, Mom. She's like, I'm going to pass away any time. And she goes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I go, thank you. Now the light just went on.
Mhm.
But I was enmeshed with my mother, and it took me years to realize that. And Jennie, once did we get into our 30s and 40s, especially with teenagers, enmeshment is that the only way I can connect with you is I have to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tolerate separation. And the first key to you asking the question, 3 ways to how to get away from enmeshment: learn to tolerate difference. Difference isn't wrong. Difference is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say you want Chinese food, David wants a steak.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds trivial, but in codependence, we just get, okay, I'll have a steak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I really want Chinese food.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds trivial, but you guys know it adds up.
Yeah.
It builds up to where all of a sudden, you break, things just go sideways. The second piece with enmeshment is to tolerate people's disapproval.
Mm-hmm.
Because when your dad, Jennie, if you didn't do what he wanted, he was disapproving. And as kids, that's death.
Mhm.
It means I'm unlovable.
Yes.
David, if this is all we talk about in psychology for
Yeah.
men, we're hitting 90% of them.
Wow.
We're hitting 90%.
Wow.
Because that disapproval is what gets these guys to go postal, in quotes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Can I give you guys a story?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. Mandalay Bay, 2017, when the guy went up and shot at the concert.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My sister knew him from school.
Wow.
My sister's I remember we grew up in Locker Center, which is out in San Fernando Valley.
Uh-huh.
My sister knew of him in elementary school when he was I don't know how, but they lived in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was born yet, but my sister said, because back then kids know what's going on at people's homes. The FBI came and took his father, arrested him on a Sunday for bank robbery in the early 60s. And that man never saw his dad again.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
At age 7. That sense of neglect, he becomes enmeshed with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But the rage to separate, men externalize it.
Mm-hmm.
Women internalize it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Why are so many eating disorders diagnosed with women? Because it's the way to punish themselves. where men acted out. What's the statistic? 99.99 of all shooters, these catastrophic shootings, are men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, every one of them had a narcissistic father, which
Wow.
many times is an absent father.
Mm.
Wow.
Because to leave your children is all about you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about your son or daughter, you're not leaving. I don't
Right.
care how bad the baby mama is or your wife. You don't just head for the door.
No.
So that gentleman does all that, kills, it's in my book, astronomical amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
And he had so much rage, the gun melted.
Wow.
And that's what stopped the shooting.
Wow.
It melted. And this was in CNN and different news reports. But that's how the authorities were able to stop him. His gun melted, and he had more. But I'm telling you, that loss of his father had him enmeshed. And for men to separate, they do it through violence. Women, many times when they're enmeshed, will do it through depression.
Mm-hmm.
They get very, very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And they either tolerate the anger from the parent,
Mm-hmm.
or they tend to just die emotionally. And where men, to tolerate it, will either kill off that parent or themselves.
Wow.
It's very dramatic, but emotionally kill off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy killed off, I don't know, it was a crazy number, like 50
Yeah, it was
people.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Ridiculous. And I remember we went up there in 2019, and you could feel the energy still around Mandalay Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that, I know it's a long story, Jenny, but it goes back to separate, we have to tolerate disapproval.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't, we're going to act it out.
And are there certain ways that, like you're saying, men acted out through anger? Like, I know.
Externalize it.
Yeah. So I've seen many times people that are adult codependents, they tend to develop a resentment towards everybody else but it's their own fault, right? Because we're not able to uphold our boundaries, but yet we develop
blame,
this resentment, right? And
Jenny, right on.
Act out like in these bad ways.
Do you know what's interesting? Because resentment many times is, I'm not taking responsibility for my choices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I did all this for you and you didn't do anything back for me.
Wow.
Jenny, that is, I'm telling you right there, there's 60%, 70% of all marriage counseling. That statement dealing with that. I do all this for you and you do nothing for me. But I didn't ask you to do all this. But there's a lack of boundaries. Again, there's the tennis analogy. That partner goes the other side of the court. The wife goes over there to hit the ball for the husband. Dry cleaning, laundry, everything. Dad just comes home and does whatever he wants. There's no accountability.
Yeah.
No accountability. But resentment over time turns to contempt. And contempt is that the relationship's over.
Yeah.
You know, because in Eastern psychology, they say contempt's not hatred. Contempt is indifference. And when you're indifferent, it's over.
Wow.
Because everyone thinks the opposite of love is hate. It isn't. The opposite of love is indifference.
Indifference.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Indifferent. Hatred many times is blaming. I hate you that you don't do this for me. It's your fault. I feel terrible.
Oh, wow.
Here's another one in couples. Will you make me feel this way? No. I allow you to make me feel this way.
Wow.
You hear this a lot. Like, kids will say, you make me feel terrible. I always say, no, you choose to allow that. To answer your question, how do you develop a sense of self when we've been fused or codependent? We have to know where we stop and start. Like last week, my poor pup was paralyzed. I was beside him. I took responsibility that I was not going to be able to function. It wasn't her fault. I just had to own it.
Yeah.
I had to call you folks up, and I was sobbing, trying not to sob. And I just took responsibility. I feel terrible.
Yeah.
It was no one's fault.
Right.
But I wasn't going to blame the vet or my wife.
Mm.
She had nothing to do with it either. But, it's just by the grace of God, she's alive today.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank you. Am I
Okay.
answering your question, Jennie, about how to develop that sense of self?
Yes.
It,
Yes.
the first and third, I always tell people, ask yourself, what do I want?
Mhm.
It could be from movie night, clothes, dinner, vacations, or what do you want to talk about? That question strengthens that muscle of
Wow.
your sense of self.
Mm.
That's the gateway to really becoming your own person. And being your own person makes you a much better partner
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I can show up for you. And I don't need you to take care of me or fix me. I can show up for you.
Mhm.
That's
You know.
good.
And
And-
recently my father-in-law passed away. I
Mhm.
kept thinking to myself, ask my, what do you need from me?
Mm.
Not what you can do for, what do you need from me? Just,
Mm.
that's a hard question. I go, but just think about it. And
Mm.
she came back with answers. But I always tell partners, ask your partner that. What do you need from me?
Mm.
Because that gets her to own it or him to own it.
Yeah.
Right. That's good.
Right?
That's a
Yeah.
great exercise.
Isn't it? I
Yeah.
tell couples to do that weekly. Like, let me go for a walk. Another thing I tell couples, go for a walk.
Yeah.
At least once a week together. Minus kids, dogs, if you can. And ask each other, what do you need from me this week? Or what does your week look like?
Mhm.
2 empowering statements.
Yeah. I have one more. Is
Please.
narcissism as like rampant as people are claiming? Is it as common?
That's a great question. Is it as prevalent as they make it out to sound, right?
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Mhm.
Let's
Okay.
start there. Narcissism is from a scale of 0 to 10.
Okay.
0 to 3, if you don't have narcissism, you can't get out of bed. There's healthy narcissism, then there's not that healthy, and then there's toxic as you get closer to a 10. Healthy narcissism is you know who you are, what you want, you take care of yourself. And what's happening, that word's getting overused, like the word, our family's dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Now that we don't know what that means. It means we don't talk or we don't, we're doing drugs. What does it mean? So
Yeah.
narcissism is our bodies. It's like our ego. And having an ego doesn't mean you're arrogant. It's when unhealthy narcissism is when I need you to make me feel good
Mm.
because I feel inferior.
Mm.
All narcissistic personality disorder is based, I feel inferior, and they devaluate everybody. I know when I'm working with a narcissist is when they leave the office and I feel like a bag of dirt.
Mm.
Wow.
And before they came in, feeling great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
They
it's Friday
drain you,
afternoon.
right?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Gonna, do this or that. They leave and I'm like, you feel incompetent, you
Mhm.
don't feel right, you did something wrong, they're not happy. It's our fault.
Mm.
Recently I had a father.
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna say it, son has major school phobia. I've seen the child 3 or 4 times. And the dad says to me, we're gonna get another therapist. I go, okay. I'm like, all right, but why? Well, we're not seeing any results. I go, so you're telling me I've seen your son for an hour a week for 4 weeks. You've had him for 13 years and it's my fault?
Right?
He told me to F off.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, okay. I go, now we have an understanding. Okay. Now we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who doesn't leave? That father.
Yep. Man, just I don't mean to interrupt. I mean, that's awesome. And I see the similarities there, even with
Yeah.
what I do as being a lineman instructor.
Mm-hmm.
We get these complaints from the field where these journeyman linemen are complaining, what are you doing with these apprentices? You guys aren't showing them anything. It's like, dude, we see them for 1 week every 3 months. That's it. You guys see them every single day. What are you doing?
Correct. See, and that's a narcissist.
Yep.
David, it's your fault you're not teaching them. This
Mm.
father had the audacity.
Mhm.
I was indignant. This is why I know I need to keep my dude in check.
Yeah.
Like I need to keep my guy. Like I need to remain.
Yeah.
My wife's like, put the phone down, okay?
Breathe.
Yeah, just breathe. Because telling me I'm bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a narcissistic mom. So I mean I don't need that nerve to get
Yeah.
We don't need to reactivate that system. So I just said, I go, you've had him for 13 years and here we are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he goes, so you're telling me I haven't done a good job? No, I'm telling you, you need to get involved. Stop blaming people.
Mm.
Stop blaming. Get in the game.
Mhm.
And they're still blaming people. That's unfortunate. I feel bad for the son. But that son in his 20s and 30s is going to have a hard time knowing who and what he is.
Yeah.
Because he knows what his dad is, but he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah. So, do narcissistic parents always create like a codependent child, or can they also create narcissistic children? Like, what are the dynamics that come out of that type of family system?
Jennie, it's a fork in the road. It's like you said, very well said. I find the majority of the time they create codependent children, but maybe a third become narcissistic because they have to protect themselves from feeling inferior. I find that they're more amenable to treatment and healing because there's a little wounded girl in there or wounded boy who feels unloved and not nurtured. It's not as severe as the parent. And many times those parents had a worse parent. I want to go back to fathers who are alcoholics or drug addicts.
Yeah.
That's narcissism at its peak.
Yeah.
Because there's no regard for the impact on the family. And that's why AA is such a blessing, because the first thing they do, acceptance and make amends.
Mhm.
If you're really to get clean, you got to ask for forgiveness for the collateral damage you caused and the people in your life. And that's a very narcissistic of healing. But Jennie, I've seen it go either or. Now, I may have some people that don't want to be absolutes, but 95% of the time, either goes toward codependence or they become narcissistic and devaluate everybody. And then they need a codependent partner. And you see in TV, a lot of times the husband's portrayed as kind of like has no backbone.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the wife's running the show, but many times it's a narcissistic partner. Or, other ones where, dad's like the Sopranos, dad's, a criminal, but he's the guy.
Yeah.
And the wife needs to be codependent with him to make that work.
Right.
Wow.
Right. What type of children do codependent parents create? Do they create like a child that's filled with shame, or what direction does that normally go?
Jennie, you must have read The Shame Factor.
I love your book. I love it.
Oh
so
my God.
much.
I can't say enough. Thank you. It's interesting. Codependent parents create children with self-doubt. I have kids that come in ages, let's say 17 and up. And like with college, applying for college right now as seniors. I mean, I have kids that come in like they're drowning with self-doubt. I'm not good enough. Because they were never affirmed. Going back to kindergarten when they did a finger painting or watercolors, or they, brought home art, or that, or they got an A+ in spelling or a C. They were never valued for who they were. And that goes back to children who feel incompetent, or inferior. The other side is competency.
Yeah.
Codependent parents create children who feel inferior.
Oh.
Because they don't feel like they're lovable enough. Because ultimately you can't fix somebody else.
Oh, okay. I see.
Inferior. And that shows up in many different ways. Like, I have a lot of girls who've gotten pregnant young. When I say young, under 20. And I'm always like, who's the narcissist in your background? Because you had a baby to feel loved.
Yeah.
It wasn't promiscuity. It was like many of the girls admit, I wanted someone to love me. And I'm always like, get a puppy. I go, get a puppy. I'm not being rude. Like, get a cat.
Right.
That animal will love you. That'll help heal you.
Yes.
Not the baby. That's going to just amplify the issues times 10.
Wow. Wow.
To your point, narcissistic parents breed children who feel inferior. Then they become adults in the workplace, and there's this whole tension about control. People who feel inferior have to control everything. Because control means I'm safe. No, control means you can't breathe.
Right.
Yeah.
And where someone who feels confident, they can trust people. allow their kids to go across the country or go around the world, or, or a supervisor who feels employees are competent, they feel that. And guess what? They function better.
Hmm.
Because the strongest message our kids get from us is the one we don't say.
Yeah.
Your
Wow.
kids know if you think they're smart. They just know.
Yeah.
They know. And like your daughter is adorable. She knows you guys believe in her. And guess what? She acts like you guys believe in her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You say it to her, but she knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And kids from narcissistic parents know they're not good enough because their parents aren't happy.
Wow.
Yeah. And last thing I want to talk about is how you separate from a narcissistic parent. It is, I tell guys, you've got to sneak out the back door, metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
If you wait for permission, you'll never leave.
Wow.
And for daughters to separate from a narcissistic father, they just know they just have to exile because he's never going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not your problem. He wasn't happy before you were born. He's not going to be happy after you move out.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of guilt. Guilt is a form of controlling you. Like, you never call me. I used to get that from my mom. You never call me. Finally, my mentor said, just tell her you're calling her now. Mom, I'm calling you now. What's the problem?
Mm.
Like, whatever you're doing is not enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because when I'd go to see my dad, even though he divorced my mom, I would spend time with him, and the entire time he was depressed because I wasn't with him enough.
Right.
But yet he never called me, and I was a child.
Oh, okay. Jennie and David, commercial break here. Parents say my kids never call me. I go, that's not their job. You're the parent.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not supposed to look after you.
Yeah.
If I waited for my son to call me, I might fly to the moon sooner. Okay. I love him to the moon and back, but if I'm waiting for him to call me, that's not his job.
Yeah.
But when he does call me, there's something going on. Usually, there's a problem. But like, I call him weekly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's my job to reach out. I'm the parent.
Yeah.
It's not his job to make me feel good.
Right.
It's not right. And I tell dads who are single, do not use your daughter as your emotional support partner, because that's called emotional incest.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I know nobody wants to hear that one.
No.
No,
crazy.
It's horrible for the child to live through. Too.
Oh, and I've got a gentleman, father's much older, and he's emancipating from the mom. And she literally said in my office a year ago, said to her son, I feel like we're breaking up. I about levitated out of my chair. What do you mean breaking up?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You guys aren't lovers.
Mm-hmm.
And the son's like, and now he's really he really has boundaries with his mom, because he's always been her since age 12. He's been her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, nothing, no foul play.
Yeah.
Physically, but emotionally, he's scared of women because he can't please them.
Mm-hmm. I find that I see that a lot in single moms, that they make their son the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
do you see that too?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm just making noises over here.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me. I'm just making noises.
Crazy.
It'll make my hair curl and I have straight hair. I have to. Here we go. I have to check my dude number 2.
Yeah.
And I have a couple moms right now that do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I goes, how do you want your son to develop?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want him to be a loving, caring man toward women. I go, okay, but what about him?
Mm-hmm.
What about him? And boys who feel like their mother support, either they go, if they live in Los Angeles, they go to school in Europe or Hawaii or Southeast Asia, whatever they can to geographically get away. But I say, okay, that's the first step. The second step is you're not her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And emotional incest is as prevalent as sexual abuse is. It's just it's in the ether.
Yeah.
And Jennie, like you said, single mom, I understand. One thing, when a mom's telling her son how bad the father is, I go, remember, he's half that man.
Yes.
So you're telling him he's 50% defective.
Wow.
Right.
How's that going to work out?
Right.
How's that going to work? Or the narcissistic dad who's telling his daughter, your mom, like you know, your dad, your mom abandoned me. No, Dad, you divorced her.
Right.
Yeah, but I had to. No, you
Wow.
take responsibility for your actions, Dad. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Right. And the child translate is like, my parent hates me. My
Bingo.
parent hates me because
Yep.
they're
unhappy.
They got divorced, they're unhappy, and now I can't make that my mom or dad happy. I can't help them. And then you're just codependent because you want to fix everybody.
Okay. And Jennie, that leads into, David, one of the missions of your whole project, the show up dad. I got a lot of dads that were their mother's husband. They freak out because they felt suffocated. And the idea of doing that again, they jump out of the 10th story window.
Yeah.
It's not they don't want to be good dads, they don't know how to manage it. And that's why I work with dads. You've got to leave your mom at home, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Wow, I never saw that connection.
That.
That's amazing.
Isn't it? David, I meant to tell you that a lot of my dads are not involved. It's not they don't love their children. I go, tell me about your mother. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just sleep in the same bed with her. Like she'd have me snuggle with her. To what age? One way to college. So you were 18 hugging with your mother? Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
You guys, I wish it wasn't true.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is crazy.
And David, a lot of, I want to say the third of the dads we deal with, they had a mom who was in their hip pocket and they don't know how to manage it.
Wow.
They don't know how to manage it.
What starts so many different fights too, because like I know.
Oh yeah.
If your mother is always in your business, right? Where
Yep.
she doesn't need to take a place, where she doesn't need to have that place, you know, where your wife, when you get married, the Bible says to leave and cleave, right? So you cleave to
correct. And there's a reason why they say you've got to leave. I mean, that's up there with love God with all your heart, soul, and mind.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't leave your mom, you can't create your own world.
Yes.
And that's as old as there are people on this planet.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. It's heavy. Dave, I tell you, a lot of those guys, they're not derelicts in their responsibilities. They have unresolved enmeshment with their mom.
Unresolved enmeshment. Okay.
Unresolved enmeshment. And the next time we talk, we're going to talk about how to disentangle yourself. You're going to feel bad, but you need to disentangle yourself so your kids can breathe freely, emotionally, spiritually, academically. It really makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Like I get worried. Okay, I'm going to go put my foot in my mouth here. When I see families like the grandparents, the parents, and the new couple all go on vacation together. Now, I'm not saying it's not great to get together, but if they don't go on vacation together, someone's in trouble.
Yep.
I always ask, if you don't go, what's going to happen? Oh, I'll be disowned. That's not a family vacation. That's family enmeshment.
Yeah.
Generational. You know, and some people say, well, yeah, I'll miss out on Hawaii. Okay, that's different. That's not enmeshment. That's just we want to be together. And if you don't come, we'll miss you, but you're not committing a crime against the family.
And it can even be as small as just having your own opinion.
Oh, it starts there, right there. That's number one. That's why so many, they talk, like we said, the turbulent teen years.
Yeah.
Your 12, 13 comes home and they have an opinion about something. It isn't maybe contrary, but it's forbidden. That's when I tell parents, no, let them have a difference of opinion. Well, she wants to dye her hair purple. Let her do it. It's it'll wash out, but that helps her be her own person. And you're supporting that within boundaries. Okay. We're talking within limits, guardrails.
One of the things my daughter always hits me up with is, Dad, can I get a tattoo? And I'm like, okay, well, what's the legal age for a tattoo? You know, once you can do that, you can do that. It's fine.
Yep.
Because there is legal ages, right?
Absolutely.
If she wants to get a tattoo, she can perfectly get a tattoo if she wants to. You know what I mean?
And the other thing I say is, and when you can pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
They're 2 for 2.
Yeah,
when you're
exactly.
18 and you can pay for it. And another thing is, that answer is great.
Yeah.
You're making her responsible. You're not saying no. But when you can make that decision, it's yours.
Yeah.
But right now, we're going to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this was
Or
such
the-
a great message.
Oh, you guys, I can't tell you, I love this. We could go for another hour. But
Yes.
I want to wrap this up with you.
Yes.
Daughters of narcissistic fathers, the challenge is how to tolerate disapproval from a man.
Okay.
Sons of a narcissistic father have to learn not to react in rage. It's when they feel bad or they feel shame. Not to react in rage. Like the guy that at Mandalay Bay, he was rageful for being neglected.
Mm-hmm.
And he took it out on the world. Where a woman would just, many times eating disorder, hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, that's awesome.
Good.
Dr.
Your wife's got to go.
Yeah, she has to answer.
Hey, listen. Hey, David, it's an honor to be with you. Love what you're doing. And dads who want to get involved, think about your mother. David, we'll do more about mothers and fathers.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Dr. Stephen Poulter, how can anybody get a hold of you? They want to reach out to you. I know I get a lot of people asking me for your number and stuff like that to get a hold of you.
You've got my cell phone. They can always text me. Or,
okay.
My website, Stephen or Stephen, STEPHAN Poulter.com. And David, I'm going to link your website onto mine so we can interface. And you guys, it's an honor to be with both of you today. What a great discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you both. God bless. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.